And so the Secretary of State, the New York Times reports that Secretary of State Mark Rubio sent a message, a memo to Europe, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, calling on them to get immigration under control. And then we have our immigration minister. I think it's our seventh one in as many years, handling such a massive, important portfolio, just has this intense, continual turnover of ministers. So our most recent immigration minister, Lena Diab, says that she was never even made privy to this, that she denies knowledge of being given that diplomatic directive. I mean, that seems to be the way with our foreign affairs minister, our industry minister, Melanie Joly, just feigns ignorance. Oh, I just didn't know. So what are we paying you for?
I'm so done with that. Every time that there is something that is happening, suddenly everybody don't remember anything. Oh, I was not aware. Oh, I don't remember. Oh, I'm not sure about that. Stop. We know your tactic. We know that you were aware of that. You just pretend you were not aware of that. I'm sick of it.
Well, and that is quite literally your job and part of your portfolio that we pay very handsomely, might I add, and you receive something like a 20%. I don't want to say 20. I don't think it's quite as high as 20%. If it is, I'll be shocked. But federal ministers get an automatic pay hike every April 1st. It's not an April Fool's Day joke. You heard it here first. This is not an April Fool's Day joke. Every April 1st, they get an automatic pay hike and pay increase. So these people are paid very handsomely to manage their portfolios, which Minister Lena Diab's portfolio is immigration. And to feign ignorance and pretend like, oh, I just didn't know that this was sent to me is complete ineptitude, arrogance on behalf of the people who are tasked with managing this very thing. But she says in this article here, so of course it's from our state broadcaster, the CBC, who you have to read with a grain of salt because they slant everything. So she said not only was she unaware of this directive sent by the U.S. Embassy in Ottawa from the Trump administration, ordering Canada to lower most of its immigration levels, but she was asked if Canada takes advice from the US when setting Canada's immigration levels. And Diab said she consulted for months with economists, department officials, and stakeholders across the country when deciding about our immigration levels going forward. And then it quotes her, quite frankly, the provinces and territories, they were my main partners because immigration in Canada is a joint provincial, territorial, federal jurisdiction. Those are the individuals that I consult with when we develop our plans. Yeah, but guess what? They're not doing enough.
Where is the consultation when you have literally the province of Quebec who had to cut on their side because the federal government didn't change anything? Where is the consultation when every single province is screaming to lower the rate, to stop it because we have so much problem? There is never, ever change at the federal level. It's always the province who needs to deal with what they have on their own side.
Yeah. Well, Doug Ford too, and we have those clips. I don't know if we can pull them up on the fly, but we have clips where he has said, this is too much and it's time to rein in the mass immigration now because Ontario receives more than half of all immigration into the country comes right into Ontario, and they end up in the Greater Toronto area specifically, in this very small, concentrated, developed city center, essentially. And now it's starting to sprawl out to these other communities and areas, and there is not the infrastructure in place to handle this massive influx. And Doug Ford has said it it took him longer than you would expect, but that's what you get when you elect a progressive conservative. But he, as of, I believe it was just in the spring, he started to finally admit and acknowledge and say, this is too much. We need to rein in the immigration levels. And the Liberals have, budget 2025, 2026, makes slight adjustments, but I don't think it's enough. And if you compare and contrast it to historic levels, it's still way over what we would traditionally have for immigration levels in this country. And again, there's several different kind of subcategories under immigration, because you have refugee claimants, you have permanent residents, you have temporary residents, you have temporary foreign workers, and then you have students here on visas. So all of these things have just exploded. All of these subcategories under the immigration umbrella have exploded in recent years, and especially refugee claimants who get all of these special privileges and amenities available to them when they come into this country, things that, as we've heard recently happening in the House of Commons, being pointed out by the Conservatives, aren't available similarly to naturalized and natural born Canadians. So this is just a big giant mess. And we have this piece too to further back this up. Even the mainstream media is becoming such an issue that they can no longer ignore or call anybody who is blowing the whistle on this a racist or a xenophobe, whatever they want to slander and smear people into being for speaking out against this unprecedented wave of mass immigration. This comes from the Vancouver Sun, and they say, why Canadian bosses love hiring foreign workers. Low skill, they call them, I laughed when I read this, low skill guest workers. They're just guests here, don't you know? We have to treat them with the utmost respect, because
the problem
they're guests.
They are not guests because they always end up to stay and not being temporary. They turn to be permanent. And in the article, they point out that the temporary foreigner, the total is 7.6% of our population.
It's massive.
That's way more than I thought.
Yeah. Oh, it's bad. But they say here, I just want to read the subheading, because they say low skill guest workers toil longer hours with fewer absences for less pay than Canadian domestic workers, which means wages go down for everyone, says a peer-reviewed study. And so there's this new study, but guess what? There's also a 2021 parliamentary report that I've reported on several times. I keep sourcing it back to it in multiple reports that I've done since I first found it, that highlighted all of these issues and wage reduction and exploitation of temporary foreign workers, right? Because there are temporary foreign workers who are coming here to scam and scheme the system, but there are also temporary foreign workers who are coming here who are being scammed and schemed themselves. And that has been well documented and well known by the federal government since at least 2021. I think it was the UN called basically the Canada's temporary foreign worker program like a slave labor.
But it's exactly what they are saying in this article. They say that, because they work for longer hours, they are not missing really time on the job, and they cost less, and they are also, as they say, trustworthy, meaning that they will stay longer than just a domestic worker. That does not justify the fact that you are hiring them before domestic worker and that you are going to pay them less for more, when this will impact directly the other salary of domestic worker who are here and where the cost of living is just continually increasing.
Yeah, absolutely. And another aspect of this, so there's two pathways that people can come into Canada as a temporary foreign worker, and they can come through the temporary foreign worker program, or there's also a program with even less oversight and less accountability called the International Mobility Program, or IMP. And they're allowed to hold jobs in Canada for longer, and again, with less oversight, more prone to abuse, more prone to being exploited by people who shouldn't otherwise be or would never otherwise qualify to be in the country. So again, there's all these, it's a multi-pronged and multifaceted issue, all under the umbrella of immigration. And that is what the US is saying, guys, look what's happening in Canada, because it's a pretty big mess. And if the government isn't going to listen to the people who have been sounding the alarm on this for several years calling us xenophobes and racists,
Mhm.
well, then we're going to start to say, hey, Canada, we're going to implement things like tariffs and trade stipulations until you get your country secure and under control, because it is inherently trickling over the border and becoming a problem also for the United States. So US President Donald Trump, who campaigned on America First, is saying this doesn't put America first, and we're going to take concrete steps and actions to put America first. And that involves making sure Canada secures its borders because they're coming over into our country. So this is such basic logical stuff. I don't know why people get so confused that this is as though it's coming out of left field. It's not.